Welcome to the Commercial Real Estate 101 podcast. I'm your host, Rafael Collazo, turning live here from Louisville, Kentucky. And today we have a phenomenal guest actually in studio. So we recently built out the studio probably about, a couple months ago. And so I've been utilizing it mainly for our live streams, but most of our guests have been out of state or regionally, and they haven't shown up in office. So the fact that you're able to come in is pretty awesome. And today we have Mark Coxon, who operates the Machine Emporium, which is a very unique business. And I found him on LinkedIn. I believe we were talking kind of offline about the fact that one of my clients had engaged with you on social media, whether that's liking or something else. And I started going down a rabbit hole on the businesses that you operate. And I was just like, this is a really cool industry. And I thought it'd be kind of it would be an interesting topic to discuss on the show because it's kind of related to commercial real estate. So Mark, great to see you.
First of all, thank you very much for having me. Really appreciate it. And look forward to talking about whatever comes of this industrial real estate, reindustrialization of America. And
we go down this. We were going down this rabbit hole a little bit offline. We may have to go down the rabbit hole a little bit live too. But no, I think the first starting point is just tell us a little bit about yourself. Like what's your background, and then maybe what got you into the business.
Yeah. So born and raised here in Louisville, Kentucky. Grew up in Eastern Louisville. Started in sales and marketing in my younger career, and grew in that business to the point where I couldn't go any further, and met a guy that was buying and selling some machines on the side in his retirement. He ran a very successful machinery dealership back in the 80s and 90s, sold that for a good chunk of money, and then retired, got bored, wanted to start something up. He and I fortuitously met at a golf course playing golf and struck up a conversation. I said I was at the top of where I could be and looking for an opportunity. And we started this company 9 years ago. He taught me the ropes. And then after 4 or 5 years, I bought him out. We brought in 2 other partners, and those guys are getting out of the business. So here before long, it'll just be me. And hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So, it's been a wild ride.
That's amazing. So did you always focus in on strictly the machinery piece, or were you also kind of mixing in the real estate? Because it's not 1 and 1 by any means, but does kind of seem.
Yeah. So we started with small tooling that goes into the CNC machines. We threw in some capital, went out to some auctions and bought what we thought we were going to make money on. Turns out we bought them all at top of retail. Oh, man. So, but you've got to get your hands dirty.
Oh yeah.
And actually do the work to learn and to grow. So a couple years of trial and error, but then after that, we started getting our hands into the bigger and bigger CNC machines, and then auctions and buying plants is really when we got into the real estate play. A medical device manufacturer up in Ohio said that they wanted to close their facility. We went in, made them an offer for their assets, and then they said, what about the real estate? And we said, well, we'll buy that too. And so we bought the real estate, auctioned off the real estate, auctioned off the plant, or the assets inside of the plant, and did very well. And then it was off to the races. I knew what I wanted to do after that.
Heck yeah, man.
Go chase plant deals. So we've closed 10 or 12 facilities over the last few years where we bought either the real estate or both assets and real estate.
That's amazing. So back to the idea of the machinery itself, how do you go about the process of valuing that? Because obviously we talked a little bit offline that, you could have a business that maybe makes paint, and then you have a business that makes, bombs. You can have a facility that makes semiconductors, and all the equipment that's specific to that industry is obviously specific. So how do you go about that process to determine whether or not what the value of something is so that you can ultimately make a profit on it?
You ever seen Pawn Stars?
Yes.
Okay. So it's kind of like Pawn Stars. So somebody will call and say, I've got X, Y, and Z to sell. If there's not a comparable online, then you call a buddy, right? And you build that network out over years and years. So if I don't know the value, I'll call a buddy who almost guaranteed will know the value. But there's a lot of resources. You can go on eBay. There's machinery specific websites where you can go and sort that out. But then there's also just how much does the seller want? What's your risk tolerance? You know, there's a lot of cowboy kind of slinging from the hips. Just, I don't know. I think I'll pay this and hope I can double, triple, or 10x my money.
Sure.
So having cash and being willing to roll the dice is key in this business.
I can imagine. No, 100%. And to your point, building those relationships over time to where you can have someone who maybe, you know, in the auction space where they've had transactions that have gone that you've been able to track and say, okay, well, if this thing sells for X and I can get it 70% of X, then you've got some delta to work with to be able to flip it. So with those auctions, is it typically a kind of, you know, is it once a month where you just have people that come from all across the country to bid on all different types of equipment, or is it specific to industry? I'm just kind of curious.
It's specific to industry in that machine shops, you know, the assets inside of a machine shop are generally only applicable to manufacturers, machinists.
Mm-hmm.
But when we buy a plant or when we buy the assets in a plant, it's a one-day sale. So
Mm-hmm.
it's going to sell that day for $1 or whatever. It's an absolute auction. We don't bring things back. We don't put reserves on anything. So yeah, it's pretty quick and cut and dry, which is what you know, when you're investing hundreds of thousands of dollars or more, you want to return quick.
Oh yeah.
You know, you don't want to be leaving that out there. So we buy a plant, we aim to have it liquidated and emptied within 90 days.
Wow, that's quick.
Yeah. So that's marketing, setup, everything, removal, everything.
Sure. So about that process, you know, because you mentioned that there's some plants that will reach out to you to kind of inquire about what that would look like to sell off their assets. Mm-hmm. How do you guys go about finding these plants? Is it just kind of something you've just developed over time?
It's word of mouth, networking, a lot of social media, primarily word of mouth and networking. After you've done a couple deals, word gets around that they've treated you fairly, they've gotten good results for you, or they've paid a good number. You know?
Oh, sure.
In this business, there's quite a bit of competition. Even though it's a smaller industry, there's probably 250 people that do what I do in the country.
Really?
Yeah, there's not many.
Yeah.
You know, it's capital intensive, and like I said, you got to be willing to roll the dice on 6-7 figures. So, yeah, it's networking and just relationship driven primarily.
Sure.
There is a little bit of public notice, you know, from bankruptcies or things like that, but primarily just word of mouth and networking.
Yeah. So you're attending industry conferences,
Exactly.
you're doing deals with people who ultimately talk amongst each other, amongst their industry. So that's an interesting process. So I guess one question that I had was related to, you know, what do you see, I guess, the future looking like in this particular industry? I know we talked offline about some of our legislation that's kind of pushing for the reindustrialization of the country. You know, you kind of mentioned to me several different people that you've been engaging with that are seeking out certain different machinery to kind of just shore up their production domestically. I'm kind of curious as to what you think about the future.
Yeah, the future, in my opinion, looks bright for manufacturing and the reindustrialization of America. President Trump and his team is extremely focused on onshoring and reshoring our manufacturing base, which is critical for our national security, for workforce. I mean, there's just a litany of reasons why we have to bring these jobs back and stop just exporting our jobs. So it's sorry, I've lost.
No. I think it's more so just getting an understanding of the future of the industry itself.
So the future looks great. We're onshoring and reshoring jobs. We need people. The biggest hurdle we have currently is skilled labor.
Sure. Yeah.
We've got to reinvest in our trade schools, STEM labs. I know Trinity High School just down the road is a 4,000 square foot machine shop with all kinds of stuff that they're building out, which is awesome. And they said that enrollment, as soon as it's open, it's filled. Like, kids are excited about it. So teaching kids about the trades and getting them involved is so crucial as we onshore and reshore these jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a bright future. We just need more people to realize how important bringing these jobs back is and buying things made in the U.S. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think part of the reason why doing some of these podcasts is helpful, because there's a new generation of how people consume information. And absolutely. So, you know, having information available publicly on YouTube and all these different podcast formats allows for people to understand different career paths. I know for me, at least in my experience in commercial real estate, I come from an engineering background. I was in software development for many years, and then I jumped into brokerage. I had no idea that it was even an option as a potential career path. So stuff like this is one of the reasons why, I decided to start the podcast to begin with. And ultimately, hopefully it allows for more people to learn about this particular industry and see if it's something they'd be interested in pursuing. So, I guess another question was related to, how do because I know in most cases in your business, you're dealing with business owners that have decided to kind of close up shop and they want to, take, sell their equipment and kind of move on to bigger and better things. Regarding, the existing business owner, because the people who listen to this podcast are people in the commercial space, but also general business owners that have an interest in commercial real estate. What are some of the ways that these business owners can help maximize the value that they receive from their investments?
So to touch on that, it's not only people that are either retiring or going through some financial hardships. A lot of machines are also sold to be upgraded and or the line, in bigger production facilities, a lot of times the lines are dedicated to a specific part, or a machine is dedicated to a specific part that perhaps the machine shop or manufacturer doesn't need once that product is done. So there's other reasons that people sell machines, but I keep losing my train of thought. I'm curious about the thought process behind, and that's I appreciate.
So
how do you maximize? So one thing, keep your machines clean, do the preventative maintenance as best you can, but reach out to people that are in that space and dealing with those machines, and get multiple quotes or multiple offers for your machines, or call somebody like yourself that has connections in different industries to kind of feel the space out and see what people are thinking about your inventory. Start a lot sooner than you think you're ready to. Everything takes longer than you'd expect. So that would be my advice.
That's a great point, because I think a lot of people, they think that they don't really address it until it's a really big need. And then at that point it's a problem. Then it's a problem. It's like, this is really impeding my ability to do what I need to do. Exactly. And it's affecting your production. So
we see that all the time.
Oh yeah.
Where people wait till the last minute and then they still want top dollar, and you go, I'm sorry. I can't, if it's too big of a machine to move and they've waited too long, that's where I make a ton of money too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They wait till the last minute. I go, I'm the only one with cash. Let's go.
Yeah. And you make it work. So do you guys also provide just valuation? So for example, one of the things that I deal with, on industrial real estate side, is sometimes if people want to buy a building, sometimes there's machine components involved. And so, sometimes business owners will say, hey, I want to buy this building and then I want to put this piece of machinery on site. So banks oftentimes will request what that valuation of everything is. Do you guys also handle a lot of that as well, or not really?
I am a certified appraiser. I prefer not to do it.
Sure,
it's not the most profitable venture. But we do offer that service to customers. And we've worked with several local commercial real estate agents that either are selling a building full of machines or has a single machine and they need to get it gone. So we just bought an entire plant here in Shepherdsville, the assets inside of it, sold that, and then the owner was able to sell the building clear.
Oh, that's a great value add too for people, because it's like, hey, you're an industrial broker and you're interacting with a manufacturing company, and you say, hey, I know you want to sell this building. If you guys don't have a need for this particular equipment, maybe you can maximize the value of that equipment. Call you and then have them sell, and then ultimately they can sell the building and feel like they have an opportunity to make money on multiple ends.
We were working with a large automotive tier 1 supplier up in Indiana, and I got wind that they were closing a line, and I reached out and I said, hey, what are you going to do with that? And they said, oh, it's probably going to end up in scrap. And they had budgeted $1.2 million to scrap all these machines. And I said, don't do that. Let me try and sell it for you. We sold it for $300,000 or $400,000, and then we made the customers pay for the removal. So they got $300,000 or $400,000 in cash. Then they also had all of the machines removed, not at their expense. So it was like a $1.6 million swing towards a positive for them, because they didn't even realize it was an option.
Yeah. And that's amazing. I mean, that's a huge value add for people. And that's one of the things that as brokers, at least for those of you who are listening, I mean, that's how you can add value to your clients is you find ways to, make it so that they themselves have the best experience. And oftentimes it means teaming up with people who know what they're doing in that particular industry and can make it happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's fascinating. So I guess another question I had was related to, I guess what's the future hold for your all's business? I mean, are you guys planning to work outside the region as well? I know you mentioned Indiana, you mentioned some other places as well.
We actually looked at our list of customers we've sold to. We sold to 30 different states last year, and over the last couple of years, we've sold to every state in the country. We sell internationally every year. So the 10-year plan, I would say, is we'll probably have one or two other sites around the country where we'll have warehouse and some staff down in Texas and probably out in the West Coast. There's a lot of aerospace and defense in both areas. So want to have physical locations there because these machines are very heavy, very expensive to move, but then also having somebody there that can take the machines at a moment's notice is a huge value add. So I would say in the next 10 years, I'd like to have 2 or 3 facilities around the country. A couple 100,000 square feet would be my goal.
Absolutely. No, that's great. And you mentioned some of the silos that you're talking about. Texas, obviously, huge defense, especially near Houston. There's a ton of defense. And obviously not just that, manufacturing. I mean, I interviewed GE Oil back in the day when I graduated from college. And I just remember walking into their facility and seeing, because they were making these massive drill bits for their silos. And I was just like, oh my gosh, it's unbelievable. The production capabilities of some of these buildings. It's unbelievable.
I get to go to the coolest places in the country. I mean, I get to see the coolest stuff. But yeah, there's so much manufacturing going on all over the country, and we need to reinvest and help these companies as best we can.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think, to your point, I think a lot of people just don't know.
They don't have
unless you grow up in that industry or unless you grow up nearby where you can see the impact of that these companies have on the broader economy. You don't really know. So
well, there's no shop class, or there virtually was no shop class when you and I were in high school.
No,
There's no shop class, no engineering classes, nothing. So if you're not exposed to it at all, most people don't know anything about manufacturing, and they don't know that there's a lot of manufacturing going on around them. So we just need to shine a light on that. And there's really good paying jobs in this industry.
Oh yeah.
And they're jobs forever. It's not,
yeah,
it's not like
you can't automate a lot of them out. I mean, especially, even the ones that you in theory could automate out, you still have to have people to support the technology that is ultimately administering that.
I don't know the
action.
exact statistic, but somebody said that for every robot they add to their plant, they have to hire 2 more people. So it's a trade-off, right?
Yeah.
You're getting more effective, but then you're making more money and you can grow your company that way too. So it
requires that unique skill set that you're talking about, because now it's not only, hey, can I put this, these 2 pieces together? It's, hey, now I have to support a machine that has all these moving pieces that ultimately, if something goes wrong with it, I have to be able to step in and manage that process.
Well, there's just such a huge demand for machined parts currently that if you can be more effective, you can just take more work on. So
definitely. One thing I was curious about, going back to the new legislation, because I know in a couple of weeks we're going to be having an accountant on the call to talk about all the different nuances of the bill. I don't know if you've seen anything in the bill in particular that's going to be a benefit to people in the manufacturing and factory as it relates to machinery in particular. Is there anything?
Yeah, absolutely. The Section 179 deduction is huge for capital assets. So that got bumped up a significant amount. I don't remember the exact.
Was that bonus? Is that bonus depreciation?
You've got, Section 179 is just, you can write off 100% if you're expanding your capabilities. You can write off 100% of it. So up to, I can't remember exactly what the amount is, but I know they also raised the threshold on deductions from 50 million to 75 million. So they're doing the right things to help spur that growth. And the tariffs, however certain people feel about it, the tariffs are meant to bring manufacturing back, or at least shine a light that we need to put a focus on this.
Yeah.
And the big beautiful bill, I mean, it's certainly helping our business by doing that and stifling competition from China and India and wherever else.
Yeah. I think it just shines a light on the amount of things that we actually do import from other countries.
It's
and
crazy.
I think it probably will be a pain point for a little while, but in the end of the day, if it spurs investment domestically, and especially in industries where it's from a national security standpoint, we need to be able to have,
crucial. We have to reinvigorate this base. Like we mentioned offline, our munitions depots are empty. And so if we go to a full scale war, we are not in a good place. So,
well, semiconductors and all these different technologies that really run our lives nowadays, right? I mean, you've got, a big presence in Taiwan that obviously has been in the news for quite some time. So being able to consolidate certain strategic industries domestically is although from a efficiency standpoint, people can argue that maybe it's not the most efficient, but in reality, it's not necessarily just about efficiency. It's about protecting
being able to do it.
Yeah.
When COVID happened and we couldn't get masks in the States because all of the masks were made in China, what happens if the same thing happens for pharmaceuticals,
whatever,
or munitions, or machines? Or you can't call the guy you're fighting against, say, oh, can you also ship a couple containers over? So it doesn't matter what it costs at that point.
Sure.
If you can't get it, you're SOL.
Absolutely. No, I couldn't agree more. So, what are some of the ways that people can learn more about what you do, especially because we do have a lot of commercial brokers that listen into the podcast, and to give you some perspective on the demographics, I mean, we have, people who typically listen to podcasts are between, call it 20, the biggest demographics between 25 and 40. So we have people that are early to mid in their career. They're kind of establishing themselves. They're starting to hit some traction as far as their career is concerned. And they're looking for those types of resources to kind of help better add value to those clients. Like, what do you typically do, for brokers or other people in the industry when they have certain services that you can offer them?
I'm a huge advocate of just being a friend or an advisor. I don't charge anybody for my time. I don't charge for my insights. If my name's in circulation, that's good for my business.
Absolutely.
So if you're a commercial broker or somebody out there dealing with industrial or commercial buildings that have assets in them, as a certified appraiser, I have experience appraising the wildest stuff. So I'm happy to give you insights or point you in the right direction on anything. I mean, we've sold stuff from cranes to boats and planes, and I mean, we've sold some wild stuff. So if I don't know exactly what it is or whatever you may be looking at, I know who to call.
Yeah, so, and this is nationwide too.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've done
machines all over the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if you guys are listening all across the country, and we have people listening all across the U.S., we've had people in Canada, we have people in Europe, and so it creates a unique opportunity for you to potentially leverage a resource that could be a benefit to you. One thing also that I was curious about, more so related to business development as a whole, is how have you kind of leveraged media to help expand your reach? And obviously, you've been in the business for a while, so that over time you just kind of have this, cycle where you start doing business with people start talking about you, and that's just a natural progression of business. But in the new age, we have this new group of people that are really digesting a lot of information online. So I'm curious to know, how have you leveraged media and different technologies to help amplify your business?
Yeah. So, with starting this business and knowing nothing, I mean, I barely knew what these machines did. I had a somewhat simple understanding of this stuff 9 years ago, but without knowing all that, I was big on social media at my last career selling leather. And I knew that if a niche industry was presented in the correct way, you're going to get buy-in. So if you're a genuine person, you come across genuinely, and you're engaging, you can't just post and leave. You got to be engaged in it. So I just dove in and said, I don't know what this stuff is. Can somebody help me? And you just do that every day. And you have to be consistent. And other people that do what I do ask me, how do you grow your thing? I'm like, I do it every day. If I get 0 likes, guess what? Tomorrow I'm posting.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. I don't do it for the individual thing. It's the serendipity of You do it 1,500 times, you're going to get a phone call.
Absolutely.
So it's just grinding.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I mean, for 9 years, it's posted almost every single day.
Mm-hmm.
I spend a couple hours on social media every day.
Mm-hmm.
It gets tiresome at sometimes, but if you do it, it pays off.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, so social media has been huge for our business. Instagram seems to be taking a little bit of a dive, but other platforms are on the come up. So I've invested pretty heavily in our marketing of, I hired a videographer full time. So we've got payroll for just lead gen.
And that's what you got to do, man. And you're building the brand too. I mean, that's another thing about it too, is you create this brand where people associate you with this high quality production and also the value that you're adding in that respect. And
well, you can't hide.
Yeah.
If you're super present and always in front of the camera, especially in a business where you're selling used, expensive assets, a lot of other dealers in my industry like to be anonymous or as unknown as possible, because they don't want to deal with something down the road if they have a problem. I'm the complete opposite. I want to know if you have a problem with the machine I sold to you, so that down the road, you're going to tell everybody, this guy made it right. I don't want to make money on one machine. I want to make money on every machine.
Absolutely. No, that's smart. That's a really smart move. And I appreciate the value you're adding, because I think, to your point, in our business in particular, because we're a service business oftentimes, right? I mean, you provide a product, but your services, you come in, you analyze the machinery, you provide someone with some form of value in the exchange of currency, and then you ultimately sell something for a profit. But that requires you to be top of mind to someone.
Absolutely.
And so part of that is you just doing a really good job for a lot of people over a long period of time. But the other part of that is just getting out there and putting yourself in front of as many people as possible. And if you can get in front of all the people that you ultimately need to get in front of, and they may not need your services right now, but in 4 years or 5 years, they're thinking, I got all this equipment in my facility and this production line we want to upgrade, and all this equipment we want to kind of get rid of. And oh, by the way, I've seen your stuff for years and you seem like a reputable person. I'm going to go ahead and give you a call. And I've noticed that in my business. I started back in 2019 in brokerage, and I mean, I've gotten decent. I mean, one deal I think we talked about, I got a 70,000 square foot industrial facility that I listed through LinkedIn because I've been posting online for a long period of time. The owner ultimately saw what I was doing, reached out to me, and we helped them sell the facility. So, I mean, that's just one example. And I've had many, many examples of that where people have just reached out because of that. I just constantly push out there every single day, to your point. Just grind it. Yeah. Just make it work. And it pays off. And you can't look at it as hey, this one post is going to lead to X. It's, hey, I do this over time, and it's eventually going to lead to something. I'm sure you've had the same experience where the more time you spend on the post, the less engagement you get. It's those off the cuff ones where you go, I'll throw that out there. Yeah. Those are the ones that explode and you're like, what? Yeah. Well, and I think for you too, because I mean, your business is very fascinating. So I've seen some of your video posts where it's like, hey, like the other day you posted something about like cleaning like this big machine, the big drill. So I was like, yeah, like, it's kind of a unique post that you don't really see a whole lot of, and this is a unique machine that no one really has a lot of experience with. You're never going to see that. Yeah. So it just kind of helps you stand out in some way. So it's kind of interesting to see. So what type of industry resources or publications or any type of networking opportunities do you typically go to? So I'm a part of an association of machinery dealers, and I'm the board rep for this area. So I go to 4 of those a year. And then I go to some different conferences. I was just at a big conference that's really gaining quite a bit of traction called Reindustrialize. Oh, cool. So I met with all the top aerospace companies were there. DOD, every DOD, department was there. So get to go and interact in a face to face with the C-level or, close to C-level type people at those kind of contractors. So I go to as many of those type of events as I can, but social media is the great binder. It's the glue. It's so expensive for people to travel these days that you just jump on a Talkspace or, what is it? X Space or X Live. And there's so many different communities that you just be a part of to get your name out there and stay in the mix. Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, no, and to anyone who's listening, who's looking to leverage some of these communities, definitely,
Absolutely
do so. So
I'll tell you what, X has been on fire.
Oh yeah.
So I can't speak enough about that.
I need to get more involved in X, but in the commercial real estate industry in particular, it's just like it's the go-to place. I mean, people go there for news to see,
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's very helpful. It's very, real time, realistic and everything. So that's very, very helpful. So interesting. Well, I wanted to give a chance for the audience to ask any questions they may have. So we'll open up to Q&A. But in the meantime, while we wait for people to post, is there anything in particular that maybe you wish I would have asked you in this podcast that we didn't get to?
No, not that I can think of. One thing that I did want to mention is that we don't just buy single machines or plants. We also help large scale manufacturers. We have some contracts in place with some major aerospace and defense contractors to help them with all of their surplus. So if somebody out there knows of a large manufacturer that has a lot of machines, we can help them on an ongoing basis as well. So there's a company in North Carolina that has $53 million worth of spare parts that they have for their plant. Spare parts they need to get rid of, and they were going to scrap it, because how do you sell $53 million worth of random stuff? You call me. So that's another value add that we didn't discuss. But other than that, no, I mean,
yeah, no, 100%. So you're saying that it could be even an ongoing relationship where, manufacturer,
liquidations.
Yeah. So if there's ever a liquidation need, you just have that relationship with that company, so that if every time they reassess their books at the end of the year and say, hey, we got to get rid of some of this stuff and buy new stuff.
Yeah. So I have deals with some manufacturers. They'll just send truckloads. They just say a truck's coming, and then we'll sell it and send them a check.
Wow.
So
that's amazing. That's amazing. Let's give it a minute or two. Let's see. My business partner seems to be on the call, so that's cool. And then any do you have a social channels and everything as well?
At Machine Tool Emporium on Instagram, Facebook, and then on X, it's at Mark Coxon.
At Mark Coxon, great. Well, we'll make sure to include that in the show notes. And then and then your website and everything too.
www.machinetoolemporium.com. You type it in, you'll find us.
Yeah, I'll make sure to include that in the show notes. If you guys are watching this in a YouTube format, we'll make sure to include it in the description, and then same with the Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So, all right. Well, it looks like we may have answered all the questions so far, but Mark, I just greatly appreciate your time.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to staying in touch, and because it is a fascinating industry, and I'm sure there's going to be opportunities for me to pass along opportunities your way, because we talked about this one facility that we had. They ultimately took the equipment that they had on site and moved their plant, but there could be opportunities in the future where that equipment's out, needs to be
happy to help anybody.
Yeah, and we'll make sure too to include all your contact information in the show notes as well, because like I said, we have a pretty international audience. So if you guys are located let's say you're in Florida and you're a broker and you're dealing with an industrial client, and there's a bunch of equipment on site when you're selling a facility, and maybe the client wants to, maximize the value of that machinery without just selling it off in the business, in the building. Maybe there's a way they can maximize it by doing that. So
I'm happy to help. I'm up damn near 24 hours a day, it seems like, with two little kids. So happy to help. Shoot me a text, call, and be happy to help.
Awesome. Well, first off, thanks again so much for your time. For those of you guys who are watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. It makes a huge impact on our ability to reach a broader audience, and we greatly appreciate the support. Along with that, if you guys are watching or listening to this in a podcast format, whether it's Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. The more people that can hear this message, the better they can actually understand the commercial real estate industry. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do with the podcast. So thanks again so much for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time.